Minus 155 favorite is Pantoja, plus 135 comeback for Alex Perez. And actually, if I look at the live odds, man, the live odds have shifted heavily in favor of Pantoja. Minus 180 for Pantoja, plus 155 for Perez. So the prop odds, right? You got plus 125 for a decision for Perez, plus 135 for a decision for Pantoja. So if this fight goes to the distance, the odds makers think that Perez is a little bit favored. And if you look at the last couple of fights, Perez is coming off of a title shot, man. He fought Deuce de Guerra, and he actually was having success against Figgy on the feet. Now, if that speaks for anything, that speaks for, oh shit, okay, you don't want to go toe-to-toe against this guy, so we got to mix it up. So what did Deuce de Guerra do? He said he got him in a weird spot, jumped to guillotine, finished him. Boom. If you look at the most finishes, or the methodology that Alex Perez has lost the most is via submission. 4 submission losses, 1 knockout loss, 1 decision loss. Pantoja, never been finished. 5 decision losses. And you saw what he did against Brandon Royval in his last fight, right, AJ? He went scramble city. He said, I'm tired, but I'm still going to land some right hands. He said, I'm tired, but we're still going to scramble, and I'm still going to get the rear naked choke and finish you because I can take your back at any given time because my jiu-jitsu is superior. My jiu-jitsu is the best. He has some of the best jiu-jitsu in the division. So how does this fight play out? Is he standing and trading and banging with Alex Perez, or is he saying, I'll let you throw the right hand just like he let Brandon Royval do, right? I'm going to slip that right hand. I'm going to take your back, take you down, and then choke you out. How do you see it playing out?
I see it just like that, Derek. If you can out-grapple Brandon Royval, who's a very amazing grappler in his own right, man, you got some serious chops on the ground. And Pantoja, he's gritty, he's wiry, he's good in the transition, has high fight IQ. All these things that are going into it makes me feel comfortable, especially, you know what does it the most for me, gives me a little more comfort on the side of Pantoja, is he is continuously been doing this since, I don't know, I don't think he's had much of a break ever in all of his fight career. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. 2 fights in 2021, 2 fights was scheduled, 2 fights in 2020, 3 fights in 2020 or 19. He's just consistently doing it. Where you go against Alex Perez, hasn't fought in 2 years. Yeah, the last fight was against Figgy, but if you look at it, a whole bunch of cancellations, a whole bunch of just unknowns that can go into Perez, and that's kind of a good and a bad thing. You don't really know how much this guy's been training. You don't know how, where his mental is, a little bit of ring rust, or has the chin evolved? Has the chin kind of had a little bit of time to grow, to solidify a little bit more? He likes to wrestle. He likes those lower changes and everything. All this stuff that leads to Alex Perez's pros kind of fall also into Pantoja's pros. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get a heavy wrestler, yeah, cool. Pantoja has all the moves to choke you out. So that's kind of where it scares me the most. But I do like the fact that Perez has very nice combos. But at the same point, man, Pantoja comes out hot, heavy strikes. So maybe those combos in the beginning really start to work for him. But I think if Pantoja gets dropped, Alex Perez, he's going to follow him in, and then we see a jiu-jitsu wrestling match, and I think the jiu-jitsu guy gets it on this one. What about you?
I mean, Pantoja has appeared to be superior in that same exact kind of game plan time after time after time. Look at his win against Manel Kape, right? Didn't really get into the jiu-jitsu too much, right? But he was able to just outpoint a very technical striker in Manel Kape, who did at the time have some volume issues, right? He wasn't really throwing the same way that we're accustomed to in Ryzen. Look at the way he knocked out Matt Schnell. That's important, right? Look at the way when he fought Davison Figueiredo, he didn't get finished by Figueiredo, right? But to touch back on what you were saying about Alex Perez and the cancellations, it looks like only 2 of these cancellations have been on behalf of Alex Perez. The first Matt Schnell fight, he withdrew from the fight. Then you look at the third time that him and Matt Schnell, or the fourth time him and Matt Schnell were matched up, he missed weight, right? You remember that? I remember that now. Oh yeah, he did miss weight. A couple fights against Askar Askarov. Askarov got injured, and then Askarov withdrew. So it's not like it's on behalf of Alex Perez, but I do kind of understand what you're saying when it comes down to just like when you have all these cancellations, how hard can you be training? Being in this constant mode of being in training camp all the time, you know what I mean? Because the first canceled fight was in May of 2021. The last canceled fight was in it's this month. It was actually this month. It was supposed to be against Askar Askarov, right? What is this? What month are we in? July? There we go. Sometime. You know what I mean? The calendar doesn't exist. I don't know. Yeah, July of 2022. So this is kind of the whole entire point, man. It's just constant flux, constant ebb and flow. But yeah, I see the fight more or less the way that you see it, which comes down to if Perez does have success on the feet, Pantoja does what he needs to do, walks forward. It doesn't matter. Walk forward. Go ahead, take me down. Just like the Brandon Moreno situation. Take me down, because if you take me down, that's where I'm going to have my success. I'm fly. I'm slick. I'm going to take the back. I'm going to to choke you out. I'm going to submit you. However, plethora of ways. But don't forget, Pantoja does have bombs on the feet. You know, he has that right hand that connects heavily. I'm just worried here because Pantoja does have that wide stance. Alex Perez could chew up his legs the same way he did to Jussier Formiga. And who's to say, man? You chew up his legs bad enough, take away the mobility. So those are one of my two concerns. First concern, you get your legs chewed up if you're Pantoja. Second concern is we saw Pantoja gas against Royval in his last fight. And if Alex Perez can keep up that gas tank and he can keep it, tough and dirty going in all 3 rounds, I think he can pull it off. So final question. Do you think that Alexandre Pantoja should be a minus 155 favorite? Should it be closer? Should it be larger? How do you feel about the money line odds here?
I actually like where it's at. I do think Pantoja isn't levels above. We're not talking 200-300, favorite on this one. I do think he's a little bit more. And the only thing I think about it is because of maybe recency bias. I just think Pantoja's been doing more, doing often, doing it a little bit better. Because if in my mind, when I think Alex Perez, I have to really think about his fights. Like, oh, okay, who has he fought? And it might be because of the last 2-year layoff. But in my mind, that's where it lies. Not a massive favorite, pretty close right there. I like where the odds are at. Do you think he should be just absolutely dominating him, or should it be close?
I think this is just going to be a closer fight than what the odds indicate. I think the odds are saying, yeah, Pantoja gets it done. But I think that Alex Perez has a real shot at an upset here. This was a very, very difficult fight for me to choose, especially because when I watched both of their film back to back, I'm just like, on one hand, I'm like, oh, Pantoja's going to do it. Then I'm like, oh, shit, but this Alex Perez dude is a beast, man. So it's just really tough. But let's talk about props, brother. So for Alexandre Pantoja, look at that submission prop, plus 600. That's a little surprising. It's a little juicy. It's a little enticing. It's like, who? You don't think that Alex Perez, who's been submitted 4 times, would get submitted? Huh? I don't know. But Alex Perez does have good jiu-jitsu too. I feel like we failed to mention that. Alex Perez has fucking legit jiu-jitsu. So maybe that's why the submission prop is so low on that one. I can see a decision, but then the further the fight goes, the more I favor Alex Perez, if that makes sense right here. So how about you go first while I make up my mind? The over and under on this fight, AJ, is 2.5 rounds, minus 140 for the over, plus 110 for the under. How do you like it? If Pantoja gets the job done, how do you see it getting done?
If Pantoja gets the job done, Derek, I'm going with the juicy submission pick, man. That's what I wrote it down earlier, literally 2 nights ago, whatever it was when I was writing this. Pantoja by submission just seems like it's going to happen. We got the wrestler, we got the power wrestler coming in. He hurts him, maybe something happens, and then we see a scramble. I think Pantoja gets a submission, but you are correct if that's what you were inferring, where Alex Perez, the longer the fight goes, I do see Perez being more so towards the decision. But like I said, man, I'm going Pantoja. I'm going with the juicy submission, man. What about you?
You know what, man? When I look at the last 5 of Alexandre Pantoja and I see that he lost 2 via decision, one via decision, and then knocked out Matt Chanel and then submitted Brandon Royval. It's not like there's this major history of just nonstop submission. Actually, if you look at his last submission win prior to submitting Brandon Royval, it was in 2018. And that's quite some ways ago, brother. So I think I'm gonna play it smart, and I'm not gonna use recency bias, and I'm gonna rock with the decision. I'm gonna rock with the over for Alexandre Pantoja versus Alex Perez. I refuse to discredit the toughness of an Alex Perez. And I think Alexandre Pantoja can win the fight due to taking the fight to the ground and winning grappling exchanges and winning rounds that way. But if it stays on the feet, man, Alex Perez is primed for an upset here, I'm telling you. So I will eat my words if Alex Perez wins, but also I'm kind of hedging a little bit, as you can tell, folks. So, but, bet wisely, folks. Bet wisely. All right.